All right, so we're gonna rock and roll and jump right into it today. We've got a very special edition for you today. Happy Monday! It is the start of a new week. I hope you're absolutely ready to just fucking crush it this week. To just come in and absolutely crush it. You wouldn't be here if that wasn't your intentions to begin with. So, look, today we're gonna be talking about what's next for you. All right, what's next for you, Greg? What's next for you, Ashley? What's next for you, Andres? All right, today we're going to be talking about what's next steps for you and one question that you can ask yourself to get there. One simple question, right? Not in the sense of a goal, like what's the next goal, not in the sense of a goal, but this is a concept, right? And how you can use it to become whoever it is that you want, whoever you want to be, right? This is 100%, listen to me closely right now. This is 100% about mastering your mind and mental toughness. And the first thing I want to start with is that there's absolutely no final destination, right? There's absolutely no final destination. Actually, I think it was Tom Brady is the one that said this. There's no final destination. There's only the next one. And so sometimes we get caught up, and that's why I'm not saying this is a goal. I don't want to get caught up in, I accomplished this, I'm done. No. There is no done. There's what's next. That's what we're going to be talking about today. This is about sharing your journey, our journey. Right? This all started, just so some of you, the newer people know, this all started because people said, Richie, I want to know how you were able to do what you did at Ole Miss. That was it. It was like a couple people asked, how did you do that? And then it was like this thing where people really wanted to know, like really bad, because it translated to not just sports, but into business, into school, into work, right? And I'm sharing this with you. Just bear with me for a second. And then it turned into, how did you build a speaking business? Like, how did you do that? People wanted to know, like, how you were able to do it. How did you do this? How did you do that? How did you keep and maintain a dream body for most people? Like, how did you get it? How'd you keep it? How'd you maintain it? Like, how do you keep doing this? And then I spent a lot of my time studying successful people and trying to figure out how they were able to do it. How did they get the dream body, keep it, and maintain it? How did they start super successful businesses? How did they move up the ladder in their job? How did they do crush it in sports and defy the odds, right? People like Goggins of the world. But now as we've built this online organization that's really just taking off to the size that it is, I felt deep down we all of us on here needed something more to connect to. We needed something more to connect to, something we could live by, a motto, a hook, a message. What was that? What is the thing we could live by? And so I went on this journey, interviews, talking to people, right? Trying to figure out what it was. So listen to me. This is important because it is how we go from winning to winning more. A lot of you on here are already winning. How do we go to winning more? And if you're not winning and you're having failures and you're losing, how do we go from failures and losing to winning? Right? Because you wouldn't be here if that's how you felt. This is your Monday, right? You wouldn't be here if you weren't already winning and wanting to win more, or you're having some failures right now, but you want to win more. So I wanted to come up with a message, a hook, a motto that all relentless warriors could live by. So that every single time when we get off this call on a Monday morning, you know 100%, yeah, we're going to have different challenges and different things happening, but you know this is how we live. This is what we live by. This is what separates us from everybody else. And so after speaking with a lot of different people and trying to figure this out, and if some of you were on here early, I accidentally started playing a video that I may play with you today. I'm not sure. depending on time. But I had an interview with this. I did a podcast for a company I spoke at a few years ago, and one of the girls that just happened to be listening to the podcast that worked for that company, who had saw me speak a couple years ago, one of her clients, she's in sales, and one of her clients was a company by the name of To Market, right? And so they're out of New York, and she goes, I really need you to connect with the guy that runs this company. You know, they work with some big name people. I got to get you connected with them. Like, we got that. Like, that's, I just want to make that connection. And, you know, you hear this all the time. People say to you all the time, right? Like, oh, I have a connection for you. I have a connection. And usually you're like, okay, yeah, no problem. You know, I want to talk to the person. Let's see. I had no idea what this connection was going to be. But to make a long story short, we ended up deciding to work together. He goes, hey, here's what I do for people. And I explained to him where we are and what we're doing and how we're trying to connect and how we want to make this more impactful for all of our members. And he goes, well, look, here's the deal. Here's how we work together. Here's how I can help you do it. And so I had one of the most emotional weeks of my life last week in finding this message. And because they dive into you, they dive into your mindset, they dive into your childhood, they dive into the way people treated you, the way you treat people, the way you think, the way you talk, the way you act, the choices you make, the decisions that you make. It's crazy. Like, it's crazy. And so by the end of it, he held up a card. And the card said on it, what's next? And immediately, I was like, damn, that's it. That's it. So, Richie, what the hell is what's next? And what does that mean for me, right? You're probably saying, what does that mean for me? So, I'm going to start by just sharing a quick story with you. And I might have shared this with you in the past, but I just want to make sure for all the new people that you hear this. But to start, I was a terrible baseball player, horrible. I would strike out all the time. All the teammates would laugh at me. This was just the way it was. And I had a coach by the name of Mike Jallett. I played for a couple years. I just hated it. But right before my last year, I had a coach by the name of Mike Jallett. And the reason I played on their team is because I had a neighbor I grew up with, and he was always on that team, and he was able to get me on that team. So I ended up on Jallett's Roofing was the name of the baseball team. And every time I'd go up to bat, 90% of the time, I would strike out. And 100% of the time, I would walk back to the dugout and I would cry. I would always cry. That's just what I did. And I would be so pissed. I would be like, why is this happening to me? I don't want to play baseball. I'm only doing it for my dad. Like, I hate this. And so what he started doing with me, and he started actually doing it with the team, is he'd pull me to the side and he'd go, Richie, look, it happens. You strike out. It's part of the game. And he would always ask this question. He would say, what's the most important play? And the response and the answer was always had to be the next play. And it became a thing for the team. And he would always ask the team after a game in a group, each individual, all the time, he'd say, what's the most important play? The next play. And this doesn't matter if you had a great play, but you need to get back into the game because it's still not over yet, or you had a terrible play and you need to forget it to get back into the game so you don't let that ruin the game. And so when the man on the other side of the Zoom call held up the card that said, what's next, I got crushed with like this huge emotional rush because I knew that was the moment, the epiphany moment that all of us here right now would have the ability to truly change our lives and the lives of everybody around us by having something very simple to live by. And as I was explaining to him, he's like, how do you live? How do you live? And I said this and I said that. And I said, the next thing and the next goal and the next vision and the next, play to achieve, right? And what I realize is this is how the top earners, top athletes, top performers, top business owners, top salespeople, top educators, this is how they live. Like, this is how they live their lives. And I wanted to share with you today. I was thinking about sharing the video with you. I don't think we're going to have it. It's an 8-minute video. It's an extremely vulnerable video. I'm going to post it on social media at some point, probably today or tomorrow. But I wanted to show it with you first. I do want to finish what we're talking about here today. But this video really, I think, embodies everyone on this call. It embodies everyone on this call. See, there's two sides to what's next. And as you're thinking right now, what's next for you? I want you to think right now, what's next for you? There are two sides to this. Number one, it's when you're doing something well or when you achieve something huge, which is going to happen this week. You have to ask yourself the question, what's the most important play? When you're on a cold call and the person hangs up and they're frustrated, the question you have to ask yourself is, what's the most important play? The next play, the next call. If you're playing in a sport and you drop a pass, what's the most important play? The most important play is always the next play. It's always the next one. You win the Super Bowl. The most important play is the next one, right? Yes, we have to celebrate our wins. You know, we say that all the time. Celebrate your wins. 100%. 100% we have to celebrate the wins. Have to. But we also need to realize that if you want to get out of a state, okay, if you want to get out of a state of suffering, the only way to get out of that state is to say to yourself, what's the most important play? The next play. That's how you get out of a state of suffering. And that's why I was so emotional. He said to me, why is this so important to you? And I said, the reason it's so important to me is because I know what it feels like. And then he goes, and then he said, and so what can you do with that? And it's like, yes, and then you know how to get out of it. The purpose of all this, the purpose of saying what's next for you is so that if you're in a state of suffering or where things are not working out as you want them to, the great news is that the most important play is the next play. The most important play is what's next for you. And if you're winning, if you're already winning, right, you still need to win more. And so the question is, what's the most important play? The next play. I know there's a lot of people here right now. Whether you're winning, you're not winning, doesn't matter. There's a lot of people right now that are in a state of frustration, in a state of anxiety, depression, nervousness, and you're saying to yourself, how do I get out? How do I move forward? And it's very simple. The question you ask yourself is very simple, right? It's what's next? What's next? So what does this mean for you, right? What does this mean for you? What does this mean for you? Let's see. Greg, Brittany, Ashley, John, what does this mean? Andres, what does this mean for you, Siobhan? What does this mean for you, Muhammad? What does this mean? It means that you'll never be alone. This means that you will never be alone. You're a part of a community where everybody is experiencing very similar things, right? That's why I wanted to share this message with you today. Because you're probably the type of person, if you're a part of Relentless University, where you are already saying when you achieve something, what's next? What's the next accomplishment? What's the next thing that I can do? What's the next thing that I can, how can I grow more? How can I grow more? Because if you're not growing more and you're not moving to the next thing, the only other place you can be is in a state of suffering. So you wouldn't be here. So this means you'll never be alone again, because if you're experiencing that, you're a part now of a community of people that all feel the same way and all want the same things. It means that you never have to sit in a pile of depression, anxiety, frustration, nervousness ever again, because you know you're a part of a community where we all say, what's next? Where we all, when asked, what's the most important play, we all say the most important play is the next play. You're part of a community where people care about you, where they're going through the same things. And if you win, you celebrate. You celebrate, but you quickly realize what's next. When Phil Jackson talks about Michael Jordan, or what's his name? Tim Grover talks about Michael Jordan, who was his trainer. He always said that literally in the locker room after they just won the championship, before he even left the locker room, he would say to Tim Grover, he would say, hey, what are we doing tomorrow morning? Like in the weight room. I mean, that's a little over the top, but hey, that's Michael Jordan. Like, there's no denying that. There's no denying that. So there's two sides, very clear. There's, I'm in a state of frustration. Things aren't going my way. Depression, anxiety, nervousness, bad. What's the most important play? You have to ask yourself that question. What's the most important play? And the answer is always so easy. The answer is always the next play. It's always the next play. So my question for you is, what's next? What's next for you? What's next for you this week? What's the next play for you? What is the next play for you? And because it's 9:23 and we have 7 minutes left, and I wanted to share this quickly. I'm going to share this video with you. This is the most vulnerable video I've ever shared in my life. But I just feel that everyone here, this community that we're building, I know, on the group calls, on these in person, I know some of you are around the country. This is what it's all about. And so I'm going to share this with you. You're all going to be the first ones to see it, besides family and friends. But this is how we found the message.
And here's one question. Why is that important to you?
Because I know what it fucking feels like. So I know other people are feeling the same thing. So,
and you have the answer.
And I know how to get them the fuck out of it.
Yes.
The reason it resonates so much is, like, as I was sharing with you that story of Jacksonville, there's 15 of them. Starting from when I was in 5th grade. I failed 5th grade. Parents got divorced. And there was this always this thing, Hank, where I could not sit in this bubble of depression. And I feel like I have it all the time. It's like I experience it, but there's something inside of me that always, and this is me sharing you, I understand the empathy part. There was something always inside of me that said, you can't be here, get the fuck out. And what's the next thing? You found this, you know how I got out of failing 5th grade? I found a special school where I can make up 5th and 6th grade in the same year. I broke my leg my senior year of high school. I still got out of it because I found the school that would give me a chance. That didn't work out. I found the dream school that gave me a chance. No job I could get hired in New York City coming from Oxford, Mississippi. I did hundreds of interviews. One company gave me a sales job. I got there. I got the chance. The first company didn't work. what was the next challenge? The next challenge. I didn't have any money. I was living on friends' couches. I was living in basements. The next fucking challenge, and boom, it hit. I spoke at a school. I wrote a book. I figured that out. And it was like, so you wrote a book. And the next day, I went to Oxford, Mississippi, sold thousands of copies. That's why it made bestseller list. And the next day, I was like, what the fuck is next, dude? Like, I was done. I was like, I want to do the next thing. I want to speak at corporate events. I want to fucking open a facility. We just opened up a new office that we're opening up on Saturday. And I'm already thinking, hey, how do I get a bigger fucking one? So that's why it resonates with me, man. I really think like I don't know. I didn't think I would be able to. What's next? Yeah. I like that, dude. Fuck. But that's yeah. What's next? What's the next one? The next goal, the next challenge, the next fucking thing, dude. And you know what it is? It's escaping suffering, bro. Like, I do have depression. I do get, I had a fucked up childhood. It could have been worse, but it was fucked up, and living in that feeling. I never want to have that feeling again. So I'm always, and I truly believe, and I teach this, that if you're not going after what you want, you're going to be in a state of suffering. And so it's about escape, always getting better and growing and being the best. And those are all cliche things, but that's how you escape a state of suffering. So I don't know, did I explain that? That's yeah.
If I can jump in for 1 second, I really like what's next, because to me, that is the phrasing of the question that people ask themselves out of fear when they don't know what to do.
To recreate what you just did, if you can do that, dude, you're a fucking rock star. You'll be fucking nationally known in a year.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like, dude, I've been trying to figure this out for 7 years. I've been speaking. People are like, what's your hook? And I don't, fuck, man, I wish I would have met you a while ago.
Bro. And you had convinced me energy.
Dude, it's like, because dude, I am emotionally so fucking connected to that, dude. Like, I'm really, really like emotionally, dude, like I'm really connected to, like, that is my philosophy, dude. That's actually how I've been wanting to fucking say this. Bro.
Good for you, man. Honestly, it's all good. And I'm happy for you.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
It's clear as a bell, man. You got it. Now you have the thing. Now we just come up with different ways to talk about it and how to make people understand it. Now you see your mission, dude. Now you see your mission. You just fucking did the video. Inside that 3-4 minutes, you're like, dude, this got me out. And everyone sits in the other fuck up.
Yeah.
You now see how you unfuck yourself.
For sure. Yeah. Like,
that's the gift you're gonna hand the world.
Dude, I've always shared the story, and I never knew, like, the right way to share with people, like, a simple, like, understanding of what they can do next. And I just feel like this is definitely, like, yeah, very clear as to how I can share this message, instead of like I have the, I've done a lot of talks and everything, but this is like how I can really get people in a 45-minute, because, like, they get a lot of information, but this is the one way that they can leave and think about to themselves when they're in a state of suffering. What's next? What is the next thing that I can do to get out of that state? And that's fucking it, for sure.
And here's one question. Why is that important to you?
Because I know what it fucking feels like. So I know other people are feeling the same thing. So
and you have the answer.
and I know how to get them the fuck out of it.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't even know why I'm fucking crying still.
Because it's an epiphany, dude. Because you arrived at, you can now fulfill the dream of, you don't want anyone to feel and go through the shit you've gone through, and they don't have to, and you know that. That's what you're doing, whether you understand it or not.
And I couldn't figure out how to like make myself understand that's what I'm here to do. You know what I mean? It was too many other things. Yeah, but that's what I'm doing, and but now I can be clear with it. Yeah.
I love it, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Me too, for what it's worth, honestly. I think that's really powerful. It's simple. It just resonates.